welcome back to my channel. Today's video I am so excited for because it's combining two things I love, both makeup and Disney. I'm going to do a tutorial on how you could do your makeup if you're going to a Disney audition. So before we get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that of course I in no way, shape, or form represent the opinion of the company. In fact, I think in a lot of the different auditions they post on the website not to wear makeup. So if you still want to wear makeup, these are just some general tips that I thought of when doing your makeup. So you don't have to wear makeup, you don't have to do your makeup this way. This is just some ideas that I thought of for those of you who have been asking me how I did my makeup or for any tips on how to do your makeup. So without further ado, let's get started. So I have already got in, I have removed makeup from my face. I did put on a little bit of a stronger brow product, so my brows are still looking good, even though I did try to remove the makeup, but that's why they still look pretty good. But I am wearing no makeup right now. I did do a little bit of skincare as well. You should always prep your skin with your skincare. But before we put on any makeup, I'm going to talk about primer. Primers are great because most oftentimes, unless you have perfect skin, you need a primer just to kind of help level you out. So for example, I have really dry skin. I need a primer around the edges of my face to make my dryness go away and make my skin a little bit more hydrated. So when I put on the foundation, it won't look super crackly or cakey. I also get very oily in my T-zone, so right through my nose. If you guys get oily in the T-zone, you know exactly what I mean. Towards maybe about 4 or 5 hours into wearing your makeup, you'll start to see it kind of separating around your nose area, sometimes on your chin or your forehead. That's because you get oil in your T-zone. So today, I'm using this primer for Hourglass. It is a fantastic primer if you get oily in this area. It will help prevent your makeup from breaking apart. It also has SPF in it too, which is nice. So I'm using this primer today in my T-zone just to start as a base. The goal of this makeup look too is to keep it really natural and make sure you still look like yourself. So I am taking this foundation. This is pretty full coverage. It even says on here, full coverage cream. This is the foundation I would use when I was performing. It was one of the few things that it wasn't required to use a specific thing when you were doing your makeup. So this is the one I got. Again, actually a fellow performer recommended it to me and her skin was flawless. So I went out and got it. If you want to wear a more natural foundation or something with a little less coverage, you can do that as well. Do whatever you feel comfortable doing. I'm just wearing this because it's what I would wear to perform all the time and I feel really comfortable in it. This is the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better, that is such a true name, CC Plus cream, and it also has SPF in it. It's SPF 50, which is really great, especially if you're going to be out and about all day long, outside. You don't have to worry about putting on SPF because the foundation already has it. To apply this foundation, I'm just applying little dots of foundation to my face and then I'm going to buff it in with a beauty blender. When I'm blending this in, I'm making sure not to sweep it across my face, but to really press it into the skin. That way it won't move around and you know that you're getting an even coverage. I'll even bring it down to my neck. Oftentimes my face is tanner than my neck, so I want to make sure I have that coverage everywhere. And when there's less product on my beauty blender, I will go on top of my eyelids as well, just to prep them for when I put on my little bit of eyeshadow. So now I'm looking kind of like a ghost, which is totally normal when you're using a full coverage foundation because you won't see any sort of color differentiation. It should all be one shade, which is why I'm looking kind of weird right now. But I'm going to let that sink in for a little bit. I might set it, I might not. It depends also on where you're auditioning. When I would audition in Orlando, I would definitely need to set it because of the humidity. If I was auditioning in a city like Seattle, where there's not a ton of humidity, I might not set my foundation. I'm going to let that sink in for a little bit and then I will decide whether or not I personally need to set my foundation. But before I do that, I'm going to go on to my eyes. So to make this cost effective, you don't need to use eyeshadow. You can use any sort of powder you may already have, like a foundation powder, and you can also use a bronzer as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a big fluffy brush and I'm going to lightly set that foundation on my eyes and just make it a very neutral color. So I have a foundation that I've already used before for my skin. It matches my skin tone. Actually, it's a little bit tan for me right now. I'm gonna go in on my eyes and just put that all over my eyelids. So as you can see, my eyes are still pretty neutral looking. There's nothing too crazy. It still looks like pretty natural, maybe just a touch darker because the powder I use is a little bit more for my skin tone when it's in the summertime, a little bit more tan. But basically, I'm just putting on a very light shadow, and then I'm going to go in with bronzer in the corners of my eye just to kind of add a little bit more depth. I do have slightly hooded eyes, so I need to really make them pop and make them look a little bit bigger. This is really effective too because I know a lot of the characters in the movies have big eyes, so if you want to really accentuate your eye shape, this is a great tip too, is just to use maybe a contour color or a bronzer in the socket of the eye or in the outer C, as makeup artists like to call it, just to really make your eyes pop. So I'm taking my Hoola Benefit bronzer and just applying that to the outer corners of my eye. Using a bronzer or any sort of powder colors that are made to be foundation powders or powders you can use for your whole face is a great way to make your eyeshadow look very natural. This is how I would do my makeup too if I was going to do a no makeup look, because it still looks really natural and it gives it a really nice depth and definition to your eye without being over the top or using any sort of bold colors. My brows still look pretty filled in because I used a pretty strong brow product earlier, which is meant to last for hours and hours and hours, so that's why they still look pretty good. I'm going to go over them lightly with a brow powder. You want to keep your brows really natural. The reason why is because you might have a character, or you might be selected to be a character that has different colored eyebrows than you. So if you go in there with really dark brows and you're chosen to do a character with light eyebrows, that could be very hard for the makeup artist or the cosmetologist to take that off. So I'm just lightly filling in my brows to give them a little bit of shape, but I'm not going over the top in case they are going to put brow products on top of what I already have on. If you want to wear eyeliner, I think that is totally fine. What I would suggest too is just, again, keeping it natural. What that means to me is just using a more natural color. So I'm going to use a brown eyeliner instead of black. Sometimes I think black is just a little too bold. But you could always wear black if you're comfortable with black. I like wearing brown because it still defines your eyes, but keeps it still really subtle. So I'm using a brown eyeliner today, and I'm going to just lightly outline my eyes. When it comes to mascara, I have little baby lashes right now, so I don't think this will do anything, to be honest. But my favorite mascara that I would use all the time was the MAC False Lashes Waterproof Mascara. This mascara I really like because sometimes when you use waterproof mascaras, they don't adhere the same way as like the normal mascara would. I feel like with this waterproof mascara, I don't see any difference really in the formulation between the waterproof one and the regular one, so I love this. I feel like it really lengthens your lashes and it's very waterproof. Like, it will not be budging. So that's really good, especially if you are going to be auditioning in a place like Orlando where you'll be sweating probably because of the humidity, and you know that it will not budge. So I'm using this mascara even though, again, I don't think it will do much on me, but hey, it might work for you. If you do have really small lashes like me, I would still not recommend wearing false lashes, only because there are only select performers that can wear false lashes. You won't be wearing them in the job. That's why I would recommend not wearing them during the audition, just because you can't wear them when you're working. My foundation is still doing great. This is one of my favorite foundations because it really just like sets itself. It's not wet at all anymore. Sometimes with liquid foundations, you do have to set them because they will still stay liquidy. This one's amazing. It literally dries matte. It's not, I mean, it still gives me some dewiness, but it's not super liquidy, so I won't be setting it today, but I still will be going on with a slight amount of bronzer and blush just to kind of give my face some dimension because it's still looking kind of flat right now. The bronzer that I'm using that I love and it's falling apart is from Makeup Forever. I don't know what the shade is. I think it rubbed off. It's completely gone. Okay, but it's one of the medium shades and it's the one that doesn't have any sparkles in it. It's literally almost gone, but I like it because it's more of a cool bronzer. It's not like an orangey bronzer, and what's really cool about this is it's a cream to powder bronzer, so when you touch it, it does feel not liquidy, but it does feel like it can move a little bit. It's not super dry, and when you apply it, so I'm applying it with a natural Bare Minerals brush, it goes on super naturally and it doesn't powder up. So you can see when I applied it just then, you can't really see any harsh lines. You can't really tell where I applied the bronzer, where I didn't. It gives a very nice, subtle contour. So this is a really great bronzer if you don't want to look super overly bronzed, if maybe you're not very good when using a regular bronzer and sometimes you overdo it. This is really great because it goes on in light amounts and it's really hard to overdo it. So I'm just going to apply a little bit to my forehead. I feel like I have the hardest time explaining like how products work, but it makes sense to me. I just have a really hard time explaining it sometimes. But as you can see, it's added that depth back into my face, but it doesn't look like I'm super bronzed. It looks very natural and there's no harsh lines or harsh edges. I'm also going to apply this in just kind of circular motions around the side of my face. But that's what I love about this bronzer. Other bronzers, if you put them on, it's super easy to apply too much. With this one, because it is a cream to powder, it just blends a lot better. That's what I see in this bronzer, is it blends super easily. I'm going to use that exact same brush when applying my blush. It rhymed. I really like using natural hair brushes if you don't want to go overboard. So what's great about the natural hair brushes is it will kind of absorb some of the product. So if you do feel like you get very heavy-handed, it's super easy for you to go overboard. You might want to try a natural hair brush that will absorb some of the product, so that way you don't have super intense bronzer or super intense blush. So I'm just going to take this blush, and that's about it for that side. So you want to just kind of like lighten up your cheeks or give them some life. You don't want to go over the top again because they will be applying blush on you if you get to the point, or if you're auditioning in a place where they will put makeup on you. If you're like me and you just cannot resist putting on highlighter, I would put on a very light amount or very natural highlighter. Again, I don't think there's any characters, maybe one, that wears any sort of like highlighting type makeup. So very light amount if you're going to do so. I'm still taking this exact same brush, and I'm using actually the new highlighter from Thrive Cosmetics. I will list it down below what shade it is, but it's one of the new highlighters from Thrive Cosmetics. I really like it because it goes on super naturally. It's easy to blend out, so it's not overpowering. I'm going to lightly just place that on high points of my cheeks. And as you can see, it gives me a very nice dewiness. It's not over the top, which is great for one of these auditions. I'll apply a little bit to my forehead just to give me some life and some depth. So I always like using the smallest amount of highlighter, blush, or bronzer. You don't want to go too overboard because if they are putting makeup on you, you don't want to make it so that they can't do that. So again, keeping it really natural, but still adding a little bit so that you don't look too flat, you don't look 2D. If you do put that on that foundation, it will just kind of make you all one color. So you do have to add that color back to your skin, which is why I added some bronzer, blush, and highlight. But again, you don't want to go overboard. So this is about as much as I will do when it comes to those three things, the highlight, blush, and bronzer. But yeah, you just want to add some depth to your face and you don't want to go too overboard because you still want to look like yourself. For the lipstick, again, I feel like I say this literally for every step, but you want to keep it more natural. For me, I wore a more nude lip. This is a lip gloss. It's pretty pigmented. It's from NYX Cosmetics. It's the Natural LG 122, but I really highly suggest using lip glosses just because they're not going to be overpowering, especially if you're using like a matte lipstick. At least on me, they tend to kind of break apart and they look kind of weird. So I like using more lip glosses because you know if they do fade, they will fade really naturally, and I like this one because it still gives me a little bit of color without being too much color. The last step is I'm going to set my face again with the same setting spray. I have a hard time saying the word setting spray. Just to lock it in and make sure that makeup lasts. You will be moving around, you will be dancing, you will be animating, so you want to make sure that your makeup stays in place, and even if you're sweating, you don't have to worry about your makeup going anywhere. And that's it for the makeup. So I feel like that was pretty simple. Honestly, me having training as a makeup artist and working at Sephora, this is really me holding back. It was very hard for me to do my makeup this little. I'm so used to doing fun, bold eyeshadow and fun lip colors and a crazy contour and highlight, but I know for the role that they typically don't wear all that makeup, and so I really wanted to set myself up for success. You don't want to go in there wearing tons of makeup because when they're looking at you for these different roles, they're trying to envision you in the role, and I feel like it would be harder to envision me as any role if I did my makeup a certain way. So I hope that makes sense. Again, I have no training whatsoever as a casting director or hiring. Just for me, if I was thinking about it from an outside perspective, I think I'm setting myself up for success if I do my makeup in a way that accentuates my features. Like I did a little bit of eyeliner and I did my eyeshadow in a way that made my eyes pop more, and I did give myself some definition like with the bronzer, the blush, and the highlight, but I'm not going over the top because some characters aren't very contoured. They don't have sharp cheekbones. There are some characters that have more softer features, and you honestly don't know what kind of character that they could see you as. So you don't want to make your features super harsh and defined if they see you as a character that might have more softer features. So this is all just to help you guys set yourself up for success. If you wanted to do makeup, if you're used to not wearing makeup at all and this is just a ton of makeup for you, I would recommend not wearing makeup. Do whatever makes you feel the most comfortable and have fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was beneficial and it was helpful, and I would love to see your guys' looks. If you thought that there was maybe something I left out or you guys did your makeup a different way, I would love to hear about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!